Now, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Inside Movies Galore. I'm your host for the evening. Here in the room, I have with me is Shawn Burkett. How are you doing today, Shawn?
Pretty good.
Awesome.
Can't
Uh,
complain.
and uh, what, why don't you tell me a little bit about where you're from and how did you get into the film industry, so to speak?
I am from Brookville, Ohio, which is a suburb of Dayton. It's about 20 minutes away. And well, I got into filmmaking, thankfully, because of my business partner Ryan Stacy. Um, Many years ago, I know it's been 6 or 7 years ago. Joe Bob Briggs was having a contest to make a film. He
Okay.
was looking for new scripts, and Ryan was he had this script idea, and so eventually through the process, we were just like, let's just try to make this ourselves. And so, um, Midsummer Nightmares was made, and that was released in 2011.
2011. Okay. And now, where did you film locally at first, or I mean, where were you shooting the locations?
A lot of it was for Midsummer Nightmares was friends and family. The one of the main characters, she her house was actually set as Ryan's apartment at the time.
Okay.
But we always try to stick close to home. We kind of live in a little community that is, in essence, kind of similar to like Haddonfield a little bit.
Okay.
So it's I don't know. We can look down like the main street, and I think there's more of a like horror Halloweenish type vibe to it.
Okay. Cool. Now, how did you go about finding the cast for your film? By the way, did you have a easy time finding people for the film?
For Midsummer Nightmares,
Yeah.
um, oh, I really don't remember.
Huh.
I know there were a couple people that ended up backing out and others getting replaced.
Oh, that's right. That's because this was more Ryan's film.
Hmm.
Correct. Now, what can you tell me about the film that you had to do with the film? Uh, you,
Um,
did you do the editing behind the film?
yes, I was basically um, the tech guy. I mean, I ran the camera. Um, at that point in time, the way we were doing audio was a weird way because we
Okay.
really didn't know what we were doing. So we had a computer set up with the recording program Pro Tools because I was a touring musician and Pro Tools was a big thing. Um,
Okay.
and we actually recorded all the audio on there. But we
Okay.
ended up losing all the audio for that film. And the microphone on the camera is what we ended up using for the film. So it killed me a little bit just because, I mean, as far
which
as audio, it's like we know what we're doing.
which is understandable since it's always really hard to catch the exact audio that you want at the exact point in time, and it's like when it's trying to get all in place, isn't it?
Right. Like the one of the pluses about what we were trying to do was that we were able to have multiple microphones set up through the room.
Okay.
So it was like, I don't know, in my head it made sense. it was like, okay, so she can move from point A to point B, and we're still going to get all the audio.
So the first film that you directed, per se, was The Sleeping Soul from
Yes.
2012. So how did you get involved with how did you come up with the concept for that film?
Oh, um, I don't know. I really, that's sad that I can't really remember. It was one of those things. It was a short story that I had.
Okay.
At that point in time, the paranormal activity movies were really big.
Okay.
Um, but I knew that I didn't want to just do like a parody or a spoof version, some half rate version of a paranormal activity movie. Um, so I tried to balance it between the two, and
Okay.
a lot of the, but basically that was, in the end, it's kind of my interpretation of. Wow, my head just went blank. It's like, wow, what is that word? Purgatory, purgatory. The sleeping soul. If you actually Google it, I believe it's in. Um, it refers to something in Latin that has some sort of equivalent with purgatory. I can't remember it. That's been a long time ago.
It's okay. I'm asking you questions about films that you've done like years ago. So what you can recall is fantastic. So um, I figured the the more that we I mean, why don't you tell me about a possible was there anything while you were directing the film that you can remember while you were on set that really sticks out to you?
There was one like creepy occurrence during filming of The Sleeping Soul. Um, there's actually two versions of The Sleeping Soul, which are both available on the Blu-ray, because they have different cast members.
Okay.
But the first cast had my buddy Jared in it,
Okay.
and somehow, um, at the time I was married and he was married, and we both knocked up our wives during shooting. Um, that was a creepy occurrence. Like I believe our kids are like a week or two apart. Um, so that was weird, and we had this running joke like, "Well, you guys better not be fucking, or else you're gonna get pregnant."
Yeah. Um, so what was the other occurrence?
Um, it's one of those things. We shot that in the apartment that I was living in, so
Okay.
it's like I think I let things get to my mind, so it's like it was really hard to sleep sometimes. Like I would hear things and I would freak myself out, and I'm just like, it's okay. It's okay. But then I just kind of ended up to an extent using that like for the film.
Okay. So how did you go about now you said that you had two different two different cast members like you said on that
Yeah.
film. How did that work?
Um Honestly, the first cut of the film, it ran too short. There was one cast member who ended up not being able to come back. So we just refilmed the certain parts and extended.
Around the different characters in the second cut.
Yeah.
Cool. And then where did that did the Sleeping Soul play anywhere? Did it have a reception or?
It played at, I know for sure it played at Fright Night Film Fest
Okay.
in Louisville, Kentucky. That's, I want to say that that's the only place that played. Like we didn't really get into the film festival game until till later on, because honestly, it's like, I mean, film festivals are great, but some of them are really expensive to submit to. And I mean, we spent, as far as to make The Sleeping Soul, we literally had maybe under $500 into that, and that was with making 100 copies of the movie.
Okay.
So it was like $75 to submit to this festival or this festival. It was just
Yeah,
kind of like, we're
it's
poor.
totally understand, and it's a rough road along the film festival circuit because of that, and totally understandable. So, um, how do you feel with the finished product of the Sleeping Soul? Or were you happy with it?
Um, th- with every film, I mean, there's certain aspects of filmmaking that you learn.
Okay.
That being the second film that Concept Media released, um, there was things that I wanted that I knew I couldn't do, but I was very happy with the things that I was able to do. Like, there's a car wreck in it,
Okay.
um, to where like literally I had to go frame by frame in Photoshop to make this car wreck, and then it just played out with everything. That was a bitch.
I understand the editing process of the film can be kind of tedious.
Yeah.
Moving on to a short film that you were in with Theater of the Deranged 2 called Panty Raid. Uh, how how did you get involved with that project?
Actually, James Cullen Bressick messaged me on Facebook.
Okay.
Um, I'm really not sure how he contacted me. I don't know if he heard something about The Sleeping Soul or it got a good review and he read it. Um, it may have been Dustin Mills. He may have threw my name out because Dustin Mills is a part of it as well. Um,
Which is still kind of cool because that then at least at least your film made some kind of an impact on someone, you know.
right. And I gotta take just 1 second. Dustin Mills, his film Puppet Monster Massacre. If you people haven't seen it, you need to. I loved that film so much. Um, it was, in my eyes, a game changer. It's like the first time people saw the Blair Witch. It was like a completely different style of making a movie. Well, he did this with fucking puppets, and like,
Yeah, I realized at the time when Monster Massacre came out, a lot of people started like following suit in what he was trying to do.
right, like
Uh,
I've got a tattoo of it on my leg. Like it, I love that film. I've got a couple different copies of it. But yeah, Theater of the Deranged 2, it just kind of fell into my lap, and we spent, oh, I want to say it took maybe 2 months of weekends to film just sporadically, and I just wanted to make something fun.
uh-huh.
Like when I was growing up, I really loved the Slumber Party Massacres and you know things of
Yeah.
that vein. So that was kind of like my chance to do something like that.
Well, and I think as a filmmaker, you kind of have to, especially if you're making something of a serious nature, take a time out and do something fun just for the fuck of it, and then go
Right.
back to something more serious and more artistic or something of that nature. So, um, but so ultimately, Panty Ray came out, and did you hear any reaction or response to anyone because of the short film? Or
Um, well, Trauma ended up picking that film up and
okay,
distributing it. Um, I never, I don't recall a negative review.
okay,
Um,
Well, you
not
never
real.
know. Somebody might mention it somewhere in a review or something like that.
Right. I mean, back then, that was the biggest thing I had to attach to my resume because of who was involved with it. So,
Totally understandable. So the next feature that you did was called A Shameless Revenge. How did you get started in that project?
that was actually, I wrote this short film, which I then later made called The Way of the Buffalo. And at that time, one of the actors we were working with a lot, his name's Corey A. Thrush. Um, he read it and he kind of wrote a different treatment that was similar but different. He gave it a more backstory.
Okay.
There was a lot more character development. That film actually ended up taking us probably, I want to say, a year because we wanted to wait on snow for a couple different scenes because there's a time lapse in it to where we see multiple seasons.
Okay.
Um,
And,
but yeah,
so
that's. I'll
go
keep
ahead.
going. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's kind of a revenge thriller.
Okay.
Um, stalker kind of. It's weird. I'm horrible at describing the films that I'm a part of.
Totally understandable. Yeah, from what I understand, and I watched it. It's basically, yeah, like you said, a revenge type thriller. Where I believe the main character he has he thinks he has a relationship with the main character, the main chick in there.
Yeah.
And then somehow he ends up in the mental.
Yeah. Story of my life.
So, now, did you find a different area location to film in, or?
Actually, no. That's everything that we've shot has basically been in and around Brookville.
Okay, cool. And did you have some different actors and actresses involved in that project this time around?
Yeah, actually, one of the actresses from Panty Raid, her name's Lauren Deneen. Um, we brought her on, gave her the lead role. Um, man, I even unfortunately had to step in and play a bartender.
I think I remember that.
I'm not real. I'm not real fond of being in front of the camera, though I want to be. So, yeah, maybe someday uh, I can do both. But until I, right, and
Comfortably at least.
when I can lose like another, I don't know, 100 pounds or so, we'll think about it.
Totally understandable. So, you the next project that I see here is Bludgeon
Yes.
from 2013. How did you get involved with that one? Now, as I understand, you are a director, but you're not the only director behind that, correct? Or
Oh
are
no,
you?
no, that was a shameless revenge. Corey and I were both
Okay.
co-directors. Bludgeon, I'll never forget it. I went out to my dad's, and my uncle was there, and so was my grandma. And I'm looking around his garage, like trying to find a weapon of some sort to like get some inspiration from. And my grandma starts telling me about this story of this guy who actually lived in our hometown who ended up killing his wife and putting her in the freezer.
Oh,
He then drove to Kentucky, and on his drive, he threw bags of her out. And that's how he was caught. The creepy thing about it is that um, right around the time that the film was released,
mm-hmm.
he was released on parole,
Oh,
and he actually broke into a church and tried to get my cousin, my second cousin, which would be my dad's first cousin, tried to get her contact information to reach out to her.
oh, jeez.
So,
That's got to be a backlash that you didn't expect.
right, and the film really, it was inspired by that, but it was more if he would have kept going, like if he like developed a desire for killing.
So in a sense, bludgeon kind of means something to you too. It kind of somewhat terrifies you too.
Oh, it definitely used to.
uh, God, I had to have to deal with that afterwards. um, you ended up filming this in Brookfield, correct?
Yeah, Brookville.
And then how was Bludgeon's response? Did you have it play anywhere?
It played a couple places. I know it played again at Fright Night Film Festival. Um, I've always loved that festival. Like it's really big. Um, and they treat the filmmakers, I don't know, like celebrities kind of, because you go to a lot of these horror conventions and it's, oh my god, the guys from The Walking Dead are here, and that's who everybody wants to see. To where Fright Night, it was kind of, it was more equaled out. Like people were there to see everybody.
Okay. So, did any of these films that I've asked you about, did any of them win anything while they were at one of these festivals? Or,
No, no, I've yet to win anything.
okay,
Sad.
totally under, totally understandable. But I think you're on your way to getting somewhere.
I'm trying.
But in any case, the next film that I see is your anthology, Watch This, which you did with several of your directors that you work with, correct?
Yes, Watch This was um, my business partner Ryan Stacy and myself, and then another local director, Jesse Kennedy. He contributed a short to that. Um, it was honestly like at that point, I think we were trying to figure out how we could do short films, but also release them.
Yeah, and oftentimes, what people tend to do with short films is write a wrap around and put their short films, or at least try to theme them or whatnot. And I think that's what you were trying to do with that.
Right.
So, and obviously VHS and films of that nature were out on the market at that point in time, I think.
Yeah.
And I think you were trying to do something in the inspiration of that.
Oh, for sure. That was VHS. I mean, it's probably at that point was the only relevant anthology out. Before that, I mean, I watched anthologies as a kid, but like, I think that was like the Willies. Um, so it'd been a while since I seen an anthology.
So how do you think putting together that anthology was for you? Was it easy? Was it hard? Or
It was. I mean, it was fairly easy. We shot two of the shorts right there in my apartment where the Sleeping Soul was shot.
okay,
And then Ryan Stacy's Ladies Night, we shot not too far from Brookville in a town called Huber Heights. That was one of the actors' houses.
okay.
So
Cool.
fairly, I mean, really, we as far as the shorts that Ryan and I did, we had maybe 3 days
Okay.
into physically filming them.
Okay. So ultimately, beyond beyond watch this, how was it received? Do you think that it was received well? At least.
I know a lot of people. I mean, they still comment about Ryan Stacy's Ladies' Night. Like that. That's definitely the most solid of the short films on that anthology.
Cool. So later on, you did a season's greetings short film in 2015, which eventually ended up in your season's greetings anthology. Correct?
Yeah. Season's Greetings. That was. We were basically trying to do another anthology. Um, but the Christmas before, actually no, like that probably would have been 2014. No, 2013 when Elvis was made.
Okay.
Um, which was just like a little short film we put out for the holidays. It was just for fun. But some people liked it. That was actually the first time that I went to a convention and somebody picked me out of a crowd and was like, "Hey, you made that Elvis movie." And I was just kind of like, "What? How the hell do you know that?" Um so that was different. Um so with Season's Greetings, um I made a second chapter to Elvis, which was great because the little boy in the film, we call him Baby Dave because he kind of looks like a little Dave Franco. Um, he was more grown up, so it fit, and he came back and he did the second. Um, but then we,
Have you ever thought of putting out like a limited release of Elvis by any chance? Just out of curiosity.
um, we had thought about it. It's just one of those things when you find the right piece of music that fits a scene. Uh, I couldn't imagine that film rescored. But we used music that obviously we didn't own, like Bing
Okay.
Crosby, and there was a metal band that we used for the end. Um, it was just one of those things that it was fun. It took maybe $20 to make, so we weren't really worried about making money off of Elvis. Um,
Okay.
but then with
Cool.
with Season's Greetings, we did another. Ryan Stacy did another Ladies' Night, which was much more brutal. Um, the, there's a gag where an appendage is cut off of a male,
Okay.
and I think that turned out a lot better the second time we did it. So yeah, we continued some of the stories from Watch This,
Okay.
and
Cool.
yeah, we just it's kind of like once a year we like to just have fun and make something that's fun, and it doesn't have to be some serious tone project. It's kind of like therapy for us.
Cool. So the next film that I see here is The Lamb. Now, that was another short film that you had did. And I think it was more of an experimental short film that you did. Correct.
Yeah. I've always been fascinated with like the occult and cults at the same time. um so I wanted to try something of that nature without you know doing what people would typically do. I
Okay.
mean, so it's I tried it from a different standpoint, to where this woman is found covered in blood in the woods, and she's being She basically has to relive the past 24 hours by telling this police detective in an interrogation room what actually happened.
Okay.
So it was a shot at trying to do something that's been done, but do it different. I'm actually, I at some point will be releasing a sequel to that called The Flock.
Nice. Sounds very cool. I know I enjoyed the lamb from you, so I wish you luck on that once you eventually release it. So, but ultimately, did you get any kind of response for the lamb once you put it out to the public?
The Lamb actually had a lot of good response. It got into several film festivals. Because at that point,
which is a little different from some of your previous films because they didn't fully get into some of the film festivals, correct?
Right. At that point, our main producer, Chris Gorowski, he stepped in and he submitted to several film festivals, which he still does for us to this day. He's a great producer. He helps us out as much as he can.
Nice.
So it is very nice to have him on the team.
Cool. The next film that I see did you use anyone new in The Lamb before I move on as an actor or an actress or?
Yes, actually, the lead, her name is Peyton Krebs.
Okay.
She was in Elvis 2. We randomly stuck, and I don't know. It's nice meeting new people that are definitely on the same page. Like they understand what you're trying to get out of them.
Okay.
Like as far as direction. Plus she was very committed to it. It was great. But she just came out of nowhere as like to Concept Media, and we've used her in several projects.
Awesome. Now I'm going to talk about your Don't Fuck in the Woods from 2016. So how did you get involved with that project? Obviously, it's definitely a fun project.
It's so weird because actually the one negative thing that I can remember and it stuck with me, I don't remember who said it, but somebody said that the artwork for Bludgeon was extremely misleading. And that just stuck with me because between Bludgeon and Don't Fuck in the Woods, I didn't have a feature film that I released.
Okay.
So, I remember sitting on the couch and I was just like, whatever this next film is going to be, the title is going to clearly explain what this film is about, and there's not going to be any confusion.
Okay.
I can also remember once I told people what I wanted to call it, it definitely wasn't received very well. My
Probably
wife
not because you're using a swear word, and unfortunately, we still live in this day and age where we have people who are religious and probably look down your throats and be like, "You shouldn't say that."
Right. But yeah, my wife at the time didn't like the title. My buddy Scott, he thought I was crazy, which he then went on to play the creature in the damn film. So, yeah, it wasn't well received, and then it took a while to get that one off the ground for sure.
Now, not that I really want to bring this up, but I remember something specifically about apparently the area that you were filming in had actually been, what was it, condemned at the time. Was that you, or was that at the time, and that's what stopped filming for a little bit?
On Don't Fuck in the Woods?
Yeah.
No, 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 no. We disturbed a nest of yellow jackets at like 2 in the morning.
Okay.
That definitely stopped production.
Okay.
But
All
no,
right.
Angel, a film that I'm a producer on, it was shot in some, in my opinion, condemned places, but that didn't stop anything.
Okay. Cool. So did you work with anyone new in Don't Fuck in the Woods this time around?
Almost everybody, except
Okay.
for Aisha Howard and Scott Gillespie. They were the only actors that we had worked with before. Everybody else was brand spanking new.
Okay. So how was that this time around? Did working with new people, new cast, basically?
Oh, I definitely loved working with the new cast. And they were definitely dedicated, considering they had to come back several different times from several different states to finish that.
including one from my own Wisconsin, correct?
Yes, Hannah Hurt.
So how did you get involved with her? Did she come to you, or did...
Um, I don't really remember. I know that I saw her in Kevin Summerfield's um, "Don't Go to the Reunion."
Okay.
Um, that and he had two short films before that, and I know she was in one of them. I
Yep.
believe it was Popularity Killer.
Correct.
Um, see, I still remember some things. Um,
I found that from some of my interviews, it's like the closer things are, the more that you remember them. I mean, the farther things back, it's a little bit blurry.
right.
But ultimately, you always remember some kind of experience while you're on sets, or specifically because each of your films you're dedicated to, and you know that there are quirks and things that you tend to sometimes forget.
Right.
Ultimately, your Don't Fuck in the Woods, ultimately, what was its response in the indie field? Did people like it, or
Um, uh,
did you have a
well,
lot of mixed reviews?
there's always been mixed everything with that film from day one of releasing the title. Um, oh yeah, so it's like some people love it, some people hate it. I think if people would just kind of watch it and take into consideration that it's not supposed to be some
Serious?
serious and like core piece, um, I think that they'd really like it. Um, that's
Well,
why
one
we
thing that
released.
I've always noticed in your films is you always have a really unique taste in music behind your films, your films specifically.
I
So
try to. It's just it's one of those things. I'm always gonna be a musician, and it's like knowing that I can't go out and be in a band. It's this is my way to live vicariously as a musician, as far as the scores and stuff.
okay, so were you satisfied with the end product of Don't Fuck in the Woods then?
Oh God, no. I mean, there were some scenes that didn't get filmed at all that we just had to cut out because we were running out of daylight. Um, Rain held us back a lot. Um, when I say, oh, hell no, that's my personal opinion. That doesn't, I'm not saying like any of the actors had anything to do with that. It's just one of those things that a lot of things didn't get filmed. And that to me meant that the film wasn't whole.
Totally understandable. So, I see that you submitted some segments to 60 Seconds to Die and 60 Seconds to Die 2.
Yeah, we never got around to making another anthology um, in 2016. So we made a bunch of 1 minute shorts.
Okay. Room 125, No Shave November by Felicia 140.
Yeah, 140, actually 140 and Room 125 were short films that we then cut up because we were happy with certain aspects of them. But No Shave November, that was just a reason to have fun. By Felicia, Ryan Stacy wrote that, and that's just fun. And he wrote, and we did another segment that was called Girl Bye, that continues on the one character in it fighting because of some girl talking to her boyfriend.
Very cool. So is that going to be released anytime soon, or?
I know 60 Seconds to Die got distribution, and I know it's available almost everywhere. Amazon,
I know.
Best
I just
Buy.
recently picked it up. I just haven't watched it yet. So, yeah. But ultimately, it's cool to see some of your short films get published somewhere, at least in that respect, though.
Right. It is. It's one of those things. It's like it gets to the point where, I mean, filmmaking almost becomes like an addiction. Like I'll get bored and I'll just want to pick up a camera and go shoot something. But it's like I know that it's gonna be 90% of it will never be seen unless I just put it out there for free, which I don't have a problem with. But then it comes down to like, okay, let's write something.
How do you make? How do you make money with it without without shall I say gouging people?
Right. I mean, there's that aspect. I mean, honestly, as far as the short films, like we normally it's something that we do for fun. We're not looking to make money off of it. But it's just, there's a lot of, at this stage, there's a lot of prep to do something like that anymore, to where I can't just grab my camera and go out and shoot something.
Totally understand. So, next I see is Betsy, which is one of your recent productions. How did you get involved with that film?
I've always been a fond lover of the Universal horror films. The Wolfman is by far my favorite thing in general. And I always wanted to do a werewolf movie. And since I was coming off of doing Don't Fuck in the Woods, and it kind of felt like not a lot of people are doing creature type films. So I felt the need to continue. I was like, if I'm going to do a werewolf film, right now is the time to do it, because people are either going to love or hate it, just like they did Don't Fuck in the Woods.
And it seems like a lot of filmmakers seem to get on that same bandwagon at that time.
Yeah.
Too.
I mean, when your name's up a little bit higher on IMDb, it's kind of like you have to strike while the iron's still hot.
So now did you film Betsy in and around Brookfield, or?
Yeah, we filmed in Brookville, and then like 10 minutes away is another town called New Lebanon. We filmed in those two towns.
Okay. Now, did you use anyone different this time around, acting wise?
Um, with Betsy, that was my first time working with a lot of the cast.
Okay.
Um, Josh Miller, I had never worked with him before, or Mary Lee Osborne, or Justin Beam, and they were all great. And we had a reshoot that we had to do, and everybody came back. It was awesome. Um,
Cool.
and then we worked with Kelsey C. Megal, who is in the first two Midsummer Nightmares films,
Okay.
and she's always a pleasure. Her and her little dog Tank.
So it's kind of cool cool when you get to reuse some of the actors and actresses that you worked on previously too, and be able to have that kind of working relationship with some of your people that you've worked with. So
Right, like a lot of people don't know this, but Scott Gillespie, he was in Midsummer Nightmares. He's been in pretty much everything except Betsy and Failing Grace. But he at least came out and was a part of the crew for a night for Failing Grace.
nice. So ultimately, how was do you remember anything on the set that happened that you'd like to share?
Betsy was a really smooth going thing. There were times I didn't really think about shooting out in the cold and battery life, so a lot of our lights and cameras and monitors all run off the same battery. So that came to be a problem in trying to find a way to heat them, because once the camera gets cold, you almost lose frames from the frame rate.
Okay. So ultimately, did you finished Betsy, and did you submit that to any festivals?
It's currently we've submitted to, oh wow, over like 15 festivals. It's just a lot of them don't start until September, October, November.
Okay, so it's still running the festival run for them.
Yeah.
So how has it been received by the public?
So far so good. It's just one of those things that uh, I get busy, so it's like during during Betsy, I was approached by a producer who wanted to put X amount of dollars into a sequel to Don't Fuck in the Woods.
Okay.
So it's like right after Betsy, I kind of came out of that and started pre-production on Don't Fuck in the Woods, as
Nice.
well as Ryan Stacy began a more heavy pre-production for his film Failing Grace.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, I remember at the time because I wanted to get involved at least myself in your Betsy project in some way, shape, or form, and then I realized Failing Grace was at the same time
Yeah.
go funding, so I was like, but um, ultimately, so you just said that you're going into pre-production on Don't Fuck in the Woods too. How did that ultimately come about? Did that suddenly take wing, or
Yeah, because that was the furthest thing from my mind.
doing a sequel?
Yeah, because it was one of those things. I was like, oh, I don't want to go back out to the damn woods. I don't want to spend. I don't want to spend like 5 years minimum in this universe of Don't Fuck in the Woods. Like it just felt like it was going to be a creative like stranglehold. Like I wouldn't be able to get back out.
So, can you possibly tell us a little bit of the storyline, or is there anything that you can tell us about it? Or
I can tell you that it picks up where the first one ends.
okay,
Where see, it's such a hard thing to say because it's like you don't know who's seen it, you don't know who hasn't, but the survivor, sorry, gets up and treks through the woods looking for help, and she stumbles upon a summer camp that has a group of counselors and a handyman who are there fixing the place up for the upcoming summer.
okay,
We've got a great cast and we've got a great returning cast. Returning is Brittany Blanton as Jane,
okay.
Aisha Howard as Alex, and of course Roman Josart as Mac, and Brandy Mason as Meg.
Okay,
And then new cast we have Mark Justice.
okay,
Mark was in Pool Party Massacre, and
nice.
he's got a new trailer out for a film called Bleach, which
Okay,
looks amazing. Cheyenne Gordon, which he was the writer and director of Scream for Summer, and he co-wrote the Wicked one.
nice.
Um, then we have Kinsey Phillips, which she and Kayla Green are both in the Descending movie. That's actually they're from Ohio too.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I put money into that campaign. They just don't really update on their um, Indiegogo campaign. Not
yeah,
really.
it's everybody is so busy these days. It's crazy. Like I've probably got 25 messages in my inbox that I don't want to open at the moment because it's like I don't have the time to have this conversation. So I just like I'll open it and be like, "Hey, give me a day or two. I'll get back to you." Um, but actually, Kayla Green, she is the director of Descending. Um, so that's awesome, and she's worked with Dustin Mills.
Cool.
Um, so that's cool. And then we have Tom Kamazar, who works. I don't know if he's a part of HM&M Films, but he works with them a lot.
He's a producer behind Daniel Murphy's films for the most part. So
Okay,
I would say that he is part of HM&M Productions. So
right.
he's just not the main guy behind it.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's who we've got lined up thus far. We've got a couple cast members that we're going to be revealing at a later date, since we're currently crowdfunding for the sequel.
totally understand. So definitely have a good year plan for yourself then at least. Um, hopefully anyone out there that's listening right now, right this a moment, definitely take a look at his campaign. Once again, you can find it at Indiegogo, and take a look at his sequel to Don't Fuck in the Woods. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Oh,
I know
thank you.
it was short notice. Was there anything that you can think of that you'd like to share with the audience from any of your productions so far? Anything else that you'd like to get out there? So to speak.
It's mainly going to be a busy year. Don't fuck in the woods, and then at the moment, I'm currently editing Tori Jones' film Angel, which is a film I produced. Um, so those two, along with there's one short film that I can't really talk about yet that Ryan Stacy will be doing.
Okay.
Um, it's going to be a hell of a year. Plus, we will be releasing Betsy, Failing Grace, and Brittany Blanton short film, Breaking Vera. along with Angel, all this year.
Okay. Yeah. Ultimately, Angel is the only one that I have yet to pick up from you. So definitely keep me in the loop of when Angel comes out.
Oh, for sure.
But thank you for coming on again. Appreciate your time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where we can find your films and where we can find you on social media?
Everywhere. The main place to find more information about our films, casting, and to secure a copy of the films would be conceptmediallc.com. Everything is on there. Everybody's contact information. Myself and Ryan Stacy and Cheyenne Gordon, we all have our own individual directors pages, as well as there's a concept media page. There's a page for every movie, which is all on our website. So I would definitely say that. But Don't Fuck in the Woods, I know, has a Twitter and an Instagram. We're everywhere. If we have a film, it's associated with another form of social media as well.
Now, did you find distribution for Don't Fuck in the Woods? I was curious.
Yes, actually, Don't Fuck in the Woods was secured distribution via Gravitas Ventures and was released February 13th. So it is streaming everywhere. It's on iTunes. It's on Xbox, PlayStation. Wow, there's a whole list. You can get it on Amazon. I know you can get it off of Target's website. So it's doing really well at the moment.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, go ahead.
Oh, it's just funny that like you can buy a movie called Don't Fuck in the Woods at Target. It makes me laugh. It's a good thing, but it's like I feel that that's one that's like, haha, take that, haters.
Totally understand, man. I would be very proud of that movie, even though you gotten some hate over time. It's a cool title to be a part of, even if it is kind of a, in your eyes kind of title,
Right. I mean, the title sets things back, but that's what's great about independent films. I mean, honestly, we can do whatever the fuck we want. We don't have a studio telling us what we can and can't do. It's amazing. More people need to pick up a camera and try something out of their box.
Exactly. So, in any case, I have been your host, David Streggy, here on Inside Movies Galore. You can find my film reviews at Movies Galore Milwaukee. I also run a group of the same name. And also, I'm a somewhat small-time producer in my own right. Definitely take a look out for Wrestle Massacre coming out in 2018. Or not sure exactly when it's supposed to come out, but it's going to come out. So definitely take a look out for that. And thank you, Shawn, once again for coming on, and appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty.